After gathering a lot of detailed information and data, we're finally ready to pull it all together to make some informed decisions. Let's go back to handout 1.1, Initiative Inventory. This handout helped us gather initial information about several initiatives that we may have in our school. In handout 1.2, the Fidelity Checklist, we looked at how the initiatives have been implemented to help ensure the initiatives are being enacted correctly before making any hasty decisions. And lastly, we have handout 1.3 that gives us measurable data that demonstrates the outcomes of the different initiatives. In our example handout 1.1, we first identified whether or not we had initiatives that could not be cut due to grants or contractual obligations. This helps us recognize what we can't simply cut, but it doesn't mean that we don't continue to analyze them. Rather, as we go through the process, we might find supports that may have to be improved around these initiatives. That is where handout 1.2 is helpful for ensuring that we are properly supporting and implementing these initiatives. So in our example for Rocket Math, it appears to be properly supported and implemented from the data that we collected. And of course, this data was more based on opinions of yourself and your team. Although there may be some training needs that are needed for Rocket Math, it looks like most people are pretty happy anyways with the way Rocket Math has been implemented and some of the outcomes that you're seeing. Now, when we look at handout 1.3, we're actually able to see data that indicates Rocket Math is generating positive outcomes and seems to be an effective strategy. Often when our schools perform this type of activity, they find two programs which essentially do the same thing. This exercise would help you decide which one to keep and which one to abandon. For example, according to handout 1.1, Channel 1 seems to have a low perceived impact, but it also has a high cost associated with it. But warning, before you choose to cut Channel 1, you first should ensure that the low impact isn't due because of the implementation. So this is where you would go to handout 1.2 and perform the Fidelity Checklist. Of course, if Channel 1 ultimately doesn't show impact or a potential for impact that exceeds other initiatives that you already have in place, it would make sense to selectively abandon Channel 1. Again, this is just an example made up with numbers. I'm not saying if you have Channel 1 to cut it. These are just examples. This is an exercise you would repeat for each initiative. The goal of all this analysis work is to ensure that whatever you do as an initiative, that you are doing it with fidelity and that you're seeing positive results with the understanding the fewer things that you do school-wide well tend to have a deeper impact and more positive results.